Mama. Welcome to welcome to Flow with Khloe's YouTube channel.
I'm Flow with Khloe's mom.
Okay, so we gotta start that over. It's awful. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Khloe and I am here with my darling mother today.
Hello everyone.
I figured it would be kind of a cool video to have my mom on to kind of share her story or her side of the story with everything that I went through. I asked on Instagram if anyone had questions to ask my mom, and a lot of you guys gave me a lot of good questions. So we are going to go through some questions, kind of answer all of those for you guys. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you do, because I'm always asking you guys for questions and feedback and all those type of things, and so it's a great place to get in contact with me and to kind of be a part of the community. So, Mama, do you want to say hi to the camera? She's nervous here, she's shaking. I'm used to being in the camera.
Hello everyone.
So, when did I first start struggling with my eating disorder? When did you start noticing?
I think you were 12, 13 years old.
Really, that young? I remember like 14. But maybe a little bit younger.
Yeah, well, we really noticed it when we were in Costa Rica and you were in your swimsuit and you were so skinny. You were like, came out of a concentration camp.
Yeah, that was bad. I think I was about 13, 14 years old at that point.
And the year before, I remember we had pictures of you. The year before, you looked beautiful. You were just absolutely beautiful, soft skin, just, you know. And then it was skin and bones. And that was shocking.
And what was your first like response? Because I'm sure some moms are going to be watching this as well. I know even a lot of my clients, their moms watch all of my content, which is fun. But how do you remember how you approached that to me?
I knew from my own personal experience, because I went through, when I was about 14, 15, 16, I went through a few years of eating disorder myself, anorexia and all that. I knew that it was a very sensitive thing. It was a power struggle between mom and daughter. Like my mom couldn't say anything to me. She was just the enemy at that point when I was going through that.
She was my enemy, for sure.
So I had to be very careful. I knew that it was not about food. I knew it was a symptom of a deeper problem, some issues that needed to be resolved. So I tried to approach it very on that line of asking you more, not about the food or your weight, but about the reasons why you were doing what you were doing.
Yeah, we kind of battled for a long time. I think that was like, that was one of the things that I don't want to say like regret. That was one of the unfortunate things about my eating disorder, is I feel like it really tore up my relationships, and then specifically with you. I think there was a question here, I actually want to ask it, that someone gave me on Instagram, because I think it was kind of similar to that. She said, was there a point when Khloe denied helping you, or no, sorry, was there a point when you denied helping me because I didn't listen to you?
No, never. I was always trying to find an angle that would connect with you. I know as the situation evolved, we had some long discussions where you knew you had a problem at that point, but you just couldn't get yourself out of it. Your mind wasn't in it, and I really felt for you, because I knew how you understood intellectually, but emotionally you were not you were not able to comprehend and to make the changes, and that hurt you. You were miserable.
I was so miserable.
You were very.
You're so trapped. You're just so trapped. I like hated even my body at that point. I was like so uncomfortable being that small, and yet there was nothing I could do to get out of it.
But I remember watching you one day. You were on the computer, and I was kind of keeping tabs on what you were doing without you knowing. You know?
Gosh, I didn't even
but
know
I saw,
that.
but I saw that you were looking at healthy ways to put on weight. So I knew we were not dealing with anorexia. I knew this was orthorexia, which
it was anorexia. It was for sure anorexia.
It turns into anorexia, but the motivation is a little bit different. The motivation was all about eating super healthy, and it's a lot harder to argue about that.
Yeah, that was later on. So I definitely dealt with anorexia in the beginning, and then it kind of turned into like, fine, I'll eat, but I'm only going to eat very specific foods. And you're French, and so you have a kind of a way different relationship to food than I feel like most Americans do. That was actually one of the questions, is kind of what's the difference, do you feel like, in between just an American's overall relationship with food versus out in Europe?
I think in Europe we have more trust that the traditions that we've grown with, that are centuries old, have worked. So we don't question as much the nutritional value. We really frankly look at the enjoyment of food. We see food as a source of enjoyment.
Do you feel like with your friends here in America that you just see a lot of women kind of just dieting and more coming from that place of, zero pleasure with food, just like eat the raw celery sticks and, do you see that more?
Yeah, definitely. There's a more analytical approach to food. It's like you're looking at an apple and you're looking at how many calories, how much fructose, how much fiber, and we're looking at, is it good, is it juicy, is it tasty, is it going to bring me pleasure?
Yeah, did you get it from a place that actually... that actually produces good tasting fruit.
So a lot of it is overthinking the food. I think also the difference in France and in Europe in general is we're more principle guided. You know, the principle of balance, the principle of having all the colors of the different food colors on your plate. The principle of always leaving the table just a little hungry. Just those are principles instead of rules, like can't eat this, can't eat that.
Yeah, it's a way different mentality. We're kind of very dogmatic rules here versus I love the principle approach of, eat well, but also understand that having a chocolate croissant is yummy and tasty.
Where if you eat healthy and well 80% of the time, you absolutely have no problem having the donut or the croissants or whatever, which I do a lot.
Yeah. So let's kind of dive into some of these questions, then might circle back to this. So this question asks, do you feel like you contributed to the disorders? If so, in what ways?
Well, yes and no. I mean, obviously parents
the truth comes
have
out.
a huge influence.
Yeah.
It certainly wasn't the way I had raised you. I raised you always with eating balance. You can have all the candy in the world after dinner, after you've eaten your food. It was all about balancing, not forbidding. But I understood that, having gone through it myself, I understood that this was beyond nutrition. This was about other needs that you had in your own life.
So, yes and no, you contributed.
Well, yeah, but
no,
I'm
kidding. It's the environment. It's the environment. It's life. Yeah, for sure. There's so many things that can contribute to an eating disorder. It's not just one thing either. It's multiple things. And like my mom said before, she had an eating disorder, and so there's a genetic disposition with that. So
I think it's a personality, because
it can be personality, but it's also
genes daughters and
too.
other children don't have that kind of personality. You have definitely more my personality.
What would that
be? Lucky you.
What would that be?
Slightly OCD?
Not at all. Not at all. Way different from my sisters. They didn't get an eating disorder, and they're just a lot more like which is kind of funny, but they're a lot more like go with the flow, a lot more easygoing. I'm definitely more analytical, more perfectionistic. Not anymore. So how would you say that has changed in the past couple of years?
How you've changed in the past couple of years?
Yeah. Just in regards to my personality versus when I was like 14,
you
15.
had more fun to be around. You were so intense about everything.
Yeah.
You still are pretty intense. I mean, that's our personality, you know.
Not
we're passionate.
what?
We're passionate. But there's a degree of passion that's, you know, lay off, chill a little bit.
What am I intense about?
You're passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah, that's different than being intense.
Yeah. No, you're not intense as much
Yeah.
anymore. You're still passionate, though.
So maybe this lends to another question of how did you know that I was finally recovered?
I think it was when you...
Oh gosh.
I was thinking about the lizard. No, I think it was about when...
The lizard? Oh.
Or the blender.
No, I was not recovered at all at that point.
No, you were not recovered, but at least we were able to laugh about it. And it was funny how your reaction was, "Mommy," you know.
Okay, so. Quick backstory. I was making a smoothie one day, and I like get out the blender, and it actually was not. Yeah, I was filming it too. It was not the right blender size, and so I went and I like on the video poured the blender into another blender and went and blended it up. Wait, how did I see? Oh, I didn't blend it yet. I literally, when I was pouring, and you can see it on the thing, there was a little lizard that was in the blender that was just sitting in the kitchen cupboard somehow. And I was about to blend it and to eat it, and I looked down and I was like, "Mother!" And you just see on the video, like you hear me just like running and running and running, just screaming her name. That had nothing to do, I was like vegan at the time. That had nothing to do with my recovery. No, when did you know that it was finally like, oh, Khloe doesn't have a weird thing with food anymore?
When you started eating with us, and I could tell you were just much more not obsessed. You could eat anything and you were, you know, much more balanced. And I think what happens also, as you get to that point of where you can start eating again, your brain gets fed more nutrition because you were cutting out entire groups of food. And at one point I remember telling you, do not make any decisions right now because you're not capable of making proper decisions. Your brain is not functioning right. That was harsh, but I had to really be tough at times.
Yeah, totally. And you, I mean, there was a point where I feel like you kind of laid off of my recovery. You were very present. Yeah.
Allô Geneviève?
Oui, comment vas-tu?
Ça va très bien.
Est-ce que le bébé est rentré?
Elle va rentrer cet après-midi, je crois.
Oh, c'est un grand jour alors.
Oui, oui.
That was, I think, when I was like vegan. I was very typical kind of quasi-recovery. I was doing a little bit better because at least I was like eating more, but still very disordered in a lot of ways.
You were saying you were recovered, but you were vegan, so you were still not balanced and you were still obsessing a little bit over food. It was still a major focus of your day. I mean, you spent a lot of time preparing all this, you know, different kinds of food. So I knew you weren't recovered, but I laid off because I felt like there was some progress, and I figured, well, eventually she'll figure that out.
And eventually I did figure it out eventually. That's when I went kind of all in and got my period back like 5 months later. And I feel like that's when that really, once I got my period back, that was a huge shift.
Change in your personality when that happened. You were way more relaxed and happy and less, you know,
stressed and anxious. Okay, apparently I was really intense for like 11 years of my life. What did you think of me being vegan? Honest thoughts, like honest thoughts.
I think it's ridiculous personally. It's way too extreme. It's like anything else. The human body is so complex that to try to manipulate things a certain way, you're always going to be off the mark. The best approach is balance, eat everything. in moderation.
Oh my gosh, so my mom's kind of motto for me in my recovery was balance! You have to be balanced! You would like yell that at me all the time. And I didn't get it, but I'm like appreciative of you really yelling that at me all the time because you're passionate. You would be passionately telling me about balance, which I really had to go on my own journey to discovering. But I was glad that you really set that stage for like, this is something that you really need to strive for in all areas of your life, but specifically with food.
Well, the other thing that was very important also is at one point we tried to get you into a recovery
Oh my
center,
gosh, we did like
whatever.
an inpatient recovery thing.
So this, I was very upset about that thing because it turned out to not be at all what you needed. They were focusing you on food, and I remember telling you, you'll know you're healed when you're not thinking about food.
Yeah.
When it's just like, oh, what's for lunch? Okay, whatever. You know, it's all good.
I had to like have specific things on my plate, and I remember I was like, oh, can I have another apple? And they're like, no. And I'm like, what? They're like, well, you've reached your quota for fruit of the day. I'm like, but I want another apple. Like, I want more food. And they like wouldn't give it to me. That was
That was not the right approach.
And that was pricey.
For you. Yeah.
It's very pricey.
But
like,
we were pretty desperate. We really, wanted you to get help.
Which was kind. But like, that place wasn't my favorite at all. So this person asked, have you ever been mad at your daughter for what she had put you through as a mom?
Oh no, not mad. I was upset and I was really sad and frustrated because I knew you were hurting and I knew you were hiding it behind kind of the fake smiles and but I knew deep inside you were really hurting and we just couldn't, didn't know really how to, to approach that.
Yeah. Well, so that's the next question. What was your approach to helping Khloe?
Trying to talk in a non-confrontational way and never about the food.
You sometimes made it about the food. That was your flaw. That was your mistake.
Maybe, but I mean, I really tried to not focus on the food. I really tried to focus more on how you feeling, how, are you happy where you are at? And
yeah, so the times that we had the most major, like, big conflicts were when you talked about food.
Yeah.
We would bring up nutrition. You would try and put, like, butter in my smoothies when I was looking away.
Yeah.
Like, you did all these things to just, like, irritate me much.
No, not to irritate you. I was
no, I know.
I was so
it was
worried
irritating to me.
That I felt like, I just sneak some butter in the soup or something just so
looking at it
because
now,
I felt like I needed to get you to a point where you had the nutrition so we could reason together.
Looking at it now, I would do the same thing if I had a daughter. I would be like sneaking butter and cheese into everything. But at the time when I caught you, it was infuriating.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of the difference between like the approach my sister took and my mom. My sister was very like, we never ever ever talked about food or nutrition. She had a very healthy relationship with food herself, and she never forced me to eat anything. So I felt a lot safer with my sister compared to you. I would like go in the kitchen and try and like watch you and make sure that you were doing everything right and that you weren't putting butter or meat or something in this, and it was kind of power struggle.
When we were eating dinner together or lunch, I was really trying to not pay attention to what you were eating because I knew you were hypersensitive, and if I looked at you, you felt like I was judging you and, oh no, what is she putting on her plate? What is she, so
it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, very difficult. I mean, obviously there's things that we could have done differently, but I don't know, for what we had and what we knew, we kind of just tried to do our best with trying to not kill ourselves when we're in the kitchen. So what was the hardest thing about your daughter experiencing an ED? I know we've kind of gone over that, but is there one specific thing that was really hard?
Just to see how you were suffering inside, and and you couldn't see it.
Yeah,
I think that the hardest time was when you came back from Hawaii.
Oh my gosh, that was
because in Hawaii
was bad.
You were gone for how long? 6 months?
Yeah.
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 And you always sounded like you're having such a great time, everything was good and all that. And then one day you just broke out crying how miserable you were and how unhappy and how you know. And then you came home shortly after that and you were so thin again. It was just really, and I think that's when we tried to get you into a center.
That is when I tried to go into a center, because I was like, this needs to change. This is really off. You also sent me to France for like a year.
That was actually one of the best things.
That was really good. It got us kind of away from each other, which was good.
That was good, and also it got you around some really good hearty food. And we're talking, you know, in the country, eating from farmers, you know.
Oh, like turkey stuffed with a duck, stuffed with a cornichon hen inside, wrapped in bacon.
And rabbit stew and mustard sauce.
Yeah. I remember when I was at my uncle's house, we were at one of his friend's house, and she made a crème anglaise. And she made like a cake to put the crème anglaise on top. And I remember that was like the first time I like allowed myself that whole trip to have like treats. And I just like poured the whole thing of crème anglaise on top, and I just like loved it. So it did get me a little bit out of my comfort zone, but unfortunately it wasn't enough.
Because your focus was to eat more French, which to you meant balance and, you know, good hearty foods. And so you were willing to try that. It was easier for you to go there and do that than to be here.
Yeah, I think so. For me, it definitely was. Another question. As one in recovery, how can I best give back to my mom for years of Edie yelling at her?
It's kind of like childbirth. You go through a lot of pain, but the minute it's over, it's over.
So then the best thing you can do is to recover.
Yeah.
I mean, you're recovering for yourself, as always, but something, you know, that really helps you is having a better relationship with your mom. So
you don't owe me a thing, and you didn't do it on purpose. You didn't try to hurt me. It was, you know, it was out of your control. And that's the thing about eating disorders. Food becomes your master. You are not in, you know, you're trying so hard to be in control, but it really is food controlling you, and you lose your agency. So that's really the big problem.
I'm looking if there's any more questions here, or anything else you want to say while I look for the other questions.
I'm happy that you are passionate about what you're doing to help others, because you know what it's like, and everybody's different. Everybody's got different issues, but the principles are the same. And I think it's wonderful what you're doing.
Thanks, Mom. Anything else? I'm trying to think if there was other things.
Well, yeah, I would say, I think the most important thing in life is to be at peace with yourself and to feel this kind of deep happiness. And I'm not talking having fun and everything else is going good, you know, because life is hard and it's always tough. But having that sense of inner peace. And if you don't have that because of your relationship with food, just love yourself enough that you'll want to do something to change that, because there's definitely a lot of sunshine on the other side.
There's one thing you could do differently, like
as a mother.
Yeah, like rewind. I'm 14 years old.
Oh gosh,
just stuck in this. What would you have done?
Oh, for me, what I would have done?
No, for me,
to help you. Or to help you. Okay. There's nothing else that we could have done. It took patience. It took knowing when to, lay off and when to press a little bit more. But always being mindful that it's not about food. Food is just a symptom of a greater, deeper problem.
Any advice to those moms out there who are listening, who have daughters or sons that are struggling with an eating disorder?
Well, I know the frustrations. I know the anxiety that it generates. I would say pray for understanding and for compassion. And out of that, you will find the better way to approach the situation.
Yeah, and maybe I'll add, show your emotions and that you love them, but also keep a lot of your emotions aside. Like when you got really frustrated, I didn't want to see you being frustrated. Like I just wanted to see love from you.
There's a few times where I snapped. It was
understandably. I was a really hard child.
It was really tough.
Like really hard. But what was funny about that was I was trying to be so perfect. But in trying to be so perfect, I was becoming such a pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the myth of perfection. Perfection is not to not make mistake. It's to become complete. And that's a process of errors and mistakes, and that's life. That's what we're here for. And we have to embrace it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, a little fun question. What's your favorite food to eat?
Okay, so if I were stuck on an island and I had only one thing I could eat for the rest of my life...
Wait, can I guess this? It's Nutella, isn't it?
No!
It's Nutella. It totally is.
Not even close. I haven't had Nutella in years.
So not true.
No, it would be a nice piece of French baguette with a good soft brie and some apricot jam with the little pits in it, and you dip it in chicory.
That's like a decaf coffee, so it's like a
barley
like a coffee,
root.
milky coffee.
It's not coffee. It's a healthy drink that tastes like coffee.
My favorite food, I think like the favorite thing from you that you make is a lamb tagine. Like that is, it is my favorite every single time. You'll either do lamb chops or...
No, it's not lamb chops, it's lamb shoulder.
You do lamb shoulder for that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or lamb shanks.
Yeah, and you like make it with a big couscous with the garbanzo beans and the raisins and the harissa sauce, and then that's like super tasty.
That's a couscous.
That's a couscous.
It's called a couscous.
Same thing, very similar.
Yeah, the tagine has fruit in it.
Tagine has like dates.
Yeah,
you kind of do
dates or
both.
apricots. Yeah.
Okay, one other question. What's your favorite way to move your body?
My favorite way? Slowly. I don't like to do sharp movements. I like slow and flowing.
Yeah, like Zumba class is the most like anxiety provoking.
Oh yeah,
thing
I
for
cannot
me.
do Zumba, but I can do nice ballet or Pilates or yoga, but not Zumba. Nothing that jumps around.
You used to walk a lot. You don't really walk that much anymore.
I do, just slower because of Nana's with us.
Yeah, that's your excuse.
Walk slower.
Kidding.
But I'm a fast walker. That's the only thing I do fast, is I walk fast.
You do walk fast. My favorite form of movement... Oh, dancing. Just dancing. Yeah. I took my grandma to ecstatic dancing the other night. Did I tell you about that?
She's 86, almost 87 years old.
She loved it. I put these big headphones on her. Like, they had the neon lights all around them. I put them on her, and she's so small and tiny, and she was just like so happy and just like moving and dancing. And I was there just like totally moving around. And my French friend Atria was there as well, and so she got to talk with her. Anyway, she had a great time. Alright, I think that's all for this video. I hope that was really helpful for you guys and that you guys learned a thing or two. Well,
just remember you can't get yourself out of it. Khloe's done it, many have done it. Some people say, no, you can never recover. That's not true.
She recovered.
I recovered.
I fully recovered.
And I know for me, my recovery was like a click.
Same, yeah, that's exactly what I tell my
click.
clients.
It was just like when you're ready for it, when you do the work, but when you're ready for it, it just happens, and then when it happens, you're just a different person.
No, I think that's really important. I mention that to my clients all the time. Like, I'm looking for the click, and until it clicks, you want to keep on going with your recovery. That's where I stopped at with veganism, because I was like, I'm recovered, I'm fine, but I didn't get that click. And it wasn't until I went kind of all in and really just ate everything and allowed my body to gain weight and get my period back, that's when it clicked. And now I'm at the place where I'm like, there's absolutely zero chance I would ever relapse back into... I mean, there's always a chance, but I feel like that would be so
I don't even
hard.
have the self-discipline to...
That's the thing. I'm like, I just really like chocolate now. Oh, that's the thing. I think that's important to mention is that when you're going through an eating disorder, it switches things upside down. So for a regular human, you're trying to seek out pleasure and avoid pain, but for someone in an eating disorder, you're seeking out pain and trying to avoid pleasure. But then when that click kind of happens, all of a sudden you realize that all the things that you were seeking out after, the restricting, the chronic dieting, the over-exercising, all those things are really, really painful. So yeah, you get to a point where it's just like, whoa, that just doesn't even work anymore.
I just
like,
don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, the idea of like eating like Brussels sprouts for breakfast. Wait, can we talk about that for a second?
Or the smell of breakfast of Brussels sprouts when I first woke up in the morning.
She hated this. So I went through a period of time where all I ate was green vegetables pretty much. And I would make these huge stir fries of like Brussels sprouts and broccoli in the morning with like avocado oil on it and with some sea salt. And she would just like scream like, close my door! Like, she hated the smell of that. Yeah. Anything else to say about my weird eating habits? As a French person, I feel like you had to be looking at that being like, why? Why are you eating that?
Oh yeah, no, it was just weird combinations.
And that's the thing, guys. I mentioned this to the client yesterday. I was like, if your sister was over at your house, would she have eaten that dinner that you made last night? And she was like, no. Like, no, not at all. I'm like, okay, so if you wouldn't give it to someone else, then that's a pretty good indication that, like, you're being a little weird with your food and that food isn't something that's actually going to nourish you. Like, if other people don't want to eat it and if they wouldn't find it pleasurable. Yeah. All right, so gist of this is eat pleasurable food and enjoy yourself and don't overstress food and body and try and find balance and move in ways that you like. If you don't like to move fast, don't move fast. I think that was the gist?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Make sure you like the video and you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right.